Many people look at the witches and the black cats and all of this and they say, oh, that's just kid stuff. But witches are not taking it as kid stuff. They are very real.
Most people come in thinking, okay, this is a haunted house. They haven't heard the background of Judgment House, and they're just completely blown away by what they see. They realize, hey, that's going on in my life.
I have an illness. The doctor says it's pumpkin trauma. It all began when I went shopping for my pumpkin.
Hello and welcome to ID 21.
Hi there.
What are you doing?
I'm making a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah, a jack-o'-lantern.
You know the origin of jack-o'-lanterns?
No, but I bet you're going to tell me, aren't you?
You betcha. Jack-o'-lanterns were the origin, according to World Book Encyclopedia. Now, I don't have this knowledge firsthand.
Okay.
Started in Scotland. Man by the name of Jack.
Not Jill.
No, Jack.
Jack.
He couldn't go to heaven because he was a miser.
He was.
He couldn't go to hell because he played tricks on the devil. So he was commissioned to walk the earth with this jack-o'-lantern until Judgment Day. And that, my lady, is the story of jack-o'-lantern.
I never knew that.
That's true. What's on the show today?
Well, on the show today we're going to learn about other things like
what?
ghosts and goblins and the occult. And we have an occultic expert, as a matter of fact. Jimmy Furr is with us. Also, Phil Wilson is going to introduce us to a place called Judgment House. And you're going to love that. And be careful now, don't hurt yourself.
Also on the show,
yes,
we're going to well, we're going to have a story on the Just for Fun segment called Pumpkin Trauma.
Pumpkin Trauma.
That's right.
Okay, but we do have some music a little bit later on in the show.
Stay with us.
Stay with us, yes. Can I help?
Probably not.
We're dealing with a power that they do not understand. And we're dealing with a power that they think is just kid stuff or just playthings, when in actuality it is not.
What comes to mind when you think about Halloween?
Candy, costumes, trick-or-treating, overturned outhouses.
Overturned out.
Yeah, had mine overturned.
Okay, well, you know, that's one side of Halloween, but there's a darker and more sinister side, too. Yes, and we're going to learn something about that from our resident expert today. Yes, his name is Jimmy Furr, and he's with us, and we thank you for being with us on ID 21.
Glad to have you with us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, I had fun during Halloween. I used to soap windows, and we had outhouses overturned, and we dressed up, went trick-or-treating. What's wrong with Halloween?
That's a good question, and what we are dealing with today as Halloween is a little different than it was when you or I were children, because when you and I were children, it was mostly pranks. It was just to receive some gifts or candy or whatever it is. And today, we have more influence of the occult. We have more influence of witches. In fact, witches today are receiving more emphasis of good white witches, and they're not practicing black magic or anything like that. And so that has brought on more influence of the occult in our world today.
Why do we worry about black cats and broomsticks and things like that?
Well, broomsticks, back in the early days when the Celts began all of this back several hundred years ago, they went through the woods and through the forest and the hills and so forth with lit brooms to scare away evil spirits. And the jack-o'-lanterns also were similar to that. They would light them to scare away the evil spirits as well. So, and black cats, of course, they are associated with witchcraft and witches. In fact, the Roman goddess Diana supposedly was able to transform herself into a witch. I mean, into a black cat. And a lot of times they're associated with black cats, but not always.
Ghosts and goblins and skeletons. Why do we worry about those things on Halloween?
Well, of course, with the ghosts, we're talking about the freedom of spirits moving upon the face of the earth on All Hallows Eve, which we call Halloween. And that was a time in which all of the spirits of the departed dead were set free to roam the land, the countryside, and to do havoc, wreak havoc, to set fires, do all kinds of things. And these other things that we just mentioned a moment ago help them, or supposedly help them, to ward off these spirits.
You have kids?
Surely do.
How do you celebrate, or do you celebrate Halloween or any activities
well,
involved?
when they were smaller, of course, they're much larger now, and we do still have this conversation going on in our home about whether or not we should celebrate Halloween. But what we've done, I used to be a pastor, and what we always did through our churches is have an alternative to Halloween. And let me say, this is a very good book that I would recommend to families who are dealing with this. It's called Halloween, Is It Real or Is It Trick or Treat, you know? And it goes back to some of the foundations of Halloween and shows them how they can have some alternatives to Halloween. Very good. I think that we can do that to promote other things rather than witches and black cats and ghosts and goblins and things of this nature. And there are only two powers in this universe in which we live. That's the power of God and the power of Satan. And when we dabble in these kinds of things, what we do is we open our mind and our heart to allow Satan to step in, and he doesn't need much of a crack to come in.
Do you think most people really realize what they're doing, though? They kind of play with this whole thing. They like being scared. They read the Stephen King books, and they go to the spooky movies, and they love these haunted houses at Halloween. But are they thinking maybe that's just something to have fun with, or is there something real about this?
Basically, that is true. We like the macabre, you know, that which scares us, that which we do not understand. And that is one of the things that I try to get young people especially to realize, that we're dealing with a power that they do not understand. And we're dealing with a power that they think is just kid stuff or just playthings, when in actuality it is not. Halloween is All Saints' Eve. It is All Hallows' Eve. And this is one of the 8 major holidays on the witchcraft calendar. And so it's a very important one for them. And so the witches are going to prepare themselves for this.
And they take this seriously, don't they?
They surely do. And that's a key right there. Many people look at the witches and the black cats and all of this and they say, oh, that's just kid stuff. But witches are not taking it as kid stuff. They are very real. These are actual altars from witchcraft here in the state of Tennessee. These were taken by a police department in a city here in Tennessee of a witch and her altar, and these things have been confiscated because of something that is related to it. And there are 3 pictures here. You'll see the dagger on there. You'll see the bowls of water, and many times when you'll see an altar, you'll see all of these things on there. They'll have some kind of food on there, because when they get through with their incantations or their spells or their meeting, they will usually eat something at the close of it. So all of this, you are going to see some of these things that we're talking about.
What are the real worst things that's taking place along this line? Is there sacrifices going on, whether animals or even humans?
Yes, usually what happens when we talk about sacrifices, we're talking in getting into Satanism and what we would call satanic cult groups. These are the worst side of Satanism and the darkest side of the occult, because in these they usually begin with the sacrifice of small animals, cat, dog, something along that line, and they usually progress. Now the problem is we don't have a whole lot of emphasis or a lot of material that will tell us all of these children that are missing in a course of a year are sacrificed to Satan, though some people would say that they are. But we don't have any proof of that, but undoubtedly some of them are. But these are the groups that we don't hear about, other than the fact that they're involved usually in pornography, they're usually involved in drugs and sacrifices and things of this nature.
Appreciate you being with us. Next up, we have perhaps an alternative to some of the downside of Halloween here. Phil Wilson is going to be with us. He's going to talk about the Judgment House. So stay with us.
Every year the end has been the heaven scene, so it sort of softens everything up, and then we really show what grace is all about and what Jesus' love for us is all about.
And welcome back. Our subject today is Halloween. We've talked about some of the downside of this holiday season, but now we want to talk about an alternative to the Halloween season, don't we? And we're going to talk about the Judgment House.
Yes, we are, and we have Phil Wilson with us. He is the youth minister for Two Rivers Baptist Church. He's also the director of Judgment House, and he brought a friend with him. That's Jamie Gagliano. Did I say that right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's a mouthful.
That's a mouthful,
Wow.
Yes. Well, welcome to ID 21. And what is Judgment House?
Judgment House is a walk-through drama depicting the life of a teenager, and we've added some things this year, so it's not just about issues that the teenager faced, but it also deals with a problem that we have all across America, and we're dealing this year real strongly with the home. And also, but it walks through 14 different scenes of a young lady by the name of Kelly. Jamie is one of the Kellys in
Star player here.
She is a star player. And so you walk through 14 different scenes of Kelly, and the ultimate decision at the end of her life, what is she going to choose before it's too late.
All right, now that's just kind of a brief overview, and we know that a lot of kids are going to be out in the next few weeks, and they're going to be going around to haunted houses, and this particular thing evidently was set up, I'm told, meaning to scare hell out of people.
Careful,
now
careful.
that does not sound like it would be very scary.
I've never heard
scary?
that. Well, I don't know if is it scary, Jamie?
It depends on where you are in your life, whether or not it's scary. I think most people just, it's really a reality check. Most people come in thinking, okay, this is a haunted house. They haven't heard the background of Judgment House, and they're just completely blown away by what they see. They realize, hey, that's going on in my life. I'm fighting with my dad every night, running out of the house, going out with my boyfriend when I shouldn't be, all that kind of stuff. I think it just puts things in perspective for a whole lot of people.
They use a different theme every year, don't they? How do you decide the theme?
Well, we pray a lot, and we say we want to do something new and fresh every year. And we haven't borrowed anybody's script. There's a team of writers that we get together and we brainstorm, and you've got to have some tough skin because, man, we throw out ideas. When you say, well, this idea will work, we'll go, man, that's the craziest idea, that'll never work. And yet, there's the one rule we really have is, don't be afraid to share your ideas. And boy, we just brainstorm, and boy, the Lord just sort of brings it together.
If you're not a Christian, it does really put
Right.
the fear of the Lord in you. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, you know, the thing that we're trying to do more than anything is to be able to present truth in such a clear way that students would not be able to walk out of Judgment House and be able to say, I didn't hear truth. We want them, whether they make a decision to follow Christ or not, whether it's a student or adult, they can walk out of Judgment House and say, I saw truth clearly portrayed in a way that I've never seen it. And so many times we see people that walk in and out of church, they just turn sermons off like they turn the water faucet off. But when you're in a scene and you see a scene happening before you, it's really hard to turn that scene off because, I mean, everybody loves drama. And so you're seeing 14 different scenes of drama. And really, the scary part is probably the hell scene. And we've done some things different this year than we've ever done. We've never done it the way that we're doing it this year. But we actually have characters in hell. We've never had that where they have speaking parts. And so it's at times you want to laugh, but then at times you want to cringe. You know, so there's no heat. And people ask us, they say, why do you do hell the way you do? We tell them we just hadn't figured out how to do a lake of fire yet. We just hadn't figured out.
Do you turn up the thermostats in the room?
No.
No?
No, we don't do that.
What kind of response are you getting from the kids going through there? Do they come out with white faces, or are they saying, I want to go back in again, or I don't want to go back? Or
you know, it'd probably be that way, but usually that every year the end has been the heaven scene, so it sort of softens everything up, and then we really show what grace is all about and what Jesus' love for us is all about. And so when they come out of that, they're like, we've heard kids say for the first time, I know I've made some mistakes, but I know that He loves me, and I know that I've got some hope.
it's a big project, but a worthwhile project. Thanks for being with us, both of you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Just for Fun is coming up in just a moment.
So stay with us.
It's $2. $2? I'll take it.
Well, it's time for the Just for Fun segment, and we have something really unusual for you this time. Of course, most of what you do is unusual. What are you holding that so tight for?
You evidently have never lost your pumpkin.
I've never lost my pumpkin.
I have. It occurred several years ago. Still having some flashbacks from it, but luckily it was preserved on videotape. Its next story on Just for Fun is called Pumpkin Trauma.
Pumpkin trauma.
Take a look.
The doctor says it's pumpkin trauma. It all began when I went shopping for my pumpkin.
How much is that good-looking pumpkin over there?
You mean that ugly one with stripes?
Those aren't stripes, those are suspenders.
It's $2.
$2?
Uh-huh.
I'll take it.
Blood pressure's getting worse, Doctor. His pulse is getting weaker.
I searched everywhere for my pumpkin. But everywhere I looked, I was too late.
Excuse me, can you tell me what time it is?
Yeah.
You're gonna be all right, Larry. Your pumpkin's gonna make it too, thanks to all that orange blood you're giving it.
Good.
So reluctantly, I accepted this witch's invitation.
Well, we've talked about the Judgment House, we've talked about witches, we've talked about jack-o'-lanterns. Do we have a song to go with all this?
Yes, have you ever gotten an invitation from a witch?
No.
Well, Carmen did. Watch this.
One peaceful afternoon, I picked up from my mailbox the strangest looking letter I'd ever seen. A chilling little envelope bordered with flying bats and eerie serpents whose eyes were tinted green. Now, the letter was addressed to me, so as I opened it, I froze. What I read turned my complexion 3 shades of blue. It said my name is Isaac Horowitz. I'm a male witch, a warlock, and I feel I need to spend some time with you. Now, as a Christian from a little church with God's call on my life, a man of faith and power with a challenge to grow, I did what any saint would do in my situation. I tore it up, said, Lord, no way I'm gonna go. And gently and methodically, the Holy Spirit spoke and reminded me, we're God's voice to our nation. It's the church's responsibility to witness. So reluctantly, I accepted this witch's invitation. He had the house you'd expect, the old English cottage, a Nightmare on Elm Street special right to the core, the overgrown ivy, the gate that creaked when opened. Somehow you'd expect Freddy to answer his door. The doorbell rang a hollow gong, the knob twisted, then opened, and Isaac stood before me with a grin. His jet black hair and well-trimmed beard flowed with his black silk clothes. My skin crawled as he said, please, come on in. His house was filled with every occultic symbol you could fathom. Hanging pentagrams and horoscope signs, a Ouija board and Dungeons and Dragons game set on the table, a crystal ball with an incandescent shine, and graciously he handed me some steaming herbal tea. Its presence caused my memory to jog. I thought of every horror flick I'd seen when I was a kid and thought, man, you drink this stuff, next day you'll be a frog. Then he led me to a high-back chair as he meticulously began to unfold his scenario with evil patience. I was given a giant leather-bound book jammed with newspaper clippings, thus the reason for this witch's invitation. With eagerness, he pointed to each article with pride. He said, I healed this woman through a Babylonian chant. You see, this man, I cured him while performing druid worship. I was paid to curse this man with AIDS by his aunt. On and on, page after page, delightfully he flaunted each incident for an hour without a breath. He said, do you realize through my understanding of the dark regions that I can make you rich or even curse someone to death? I sat literally intimidated by his immensity and demon power, while his face shone with a satanic arrogant bliss. Then placing his hands on the arms of my chair and leaning into my face, he said, what can your God do to compete with this? I knew then how Moses felt when his rod turned to a serpent, and the 3 Egyptian magicians did the same. It's as if you're sitting there in that stunned moment where your faith gets violated, and all you feel is weak, powerless, and lame. I desperately and deeply prayed, saying, Jesus, give me wisdom. I don't want to put you through some foolish test. Then a shaft of light shot through my soul, igniting my eyes with fire. God stood me up, and I threw the book back in his chest. I said, Isaac, I'll not compare God's miracles versus Satan's. The issue's not God's kingdom and Satan's lair. The real comparison is the condition of your soul and the condition of mine. And you puppet of the devil, that I will compare. I said, my friend, one day they're coming for you. The soft associates in your incantations. The friendly demons you think you now control. The time will come when you'll be lying in bed, wheezing like a dying animal, when those spirits lay claim to the rights they own to your soul. Then the room will grow dark, and the most hideous evil faces you've ever seen will come flaming out of the floor with a yell. The vile informants that promised reincarnation will claw your spirit and victoriously drag your soul to hell. Then I grabbed the book and says, in that moment, which mantra, which incantation are you gonna chant to tell them to leave you alone? I said, my friend, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt what I would say. I am bought with the blood of Jesus. Let me go. I said, Isaac, when you tossed that book in my lap, you gloated with a sinister victory. You rejoiced when you saw your name in black and white. Now I rejoice, but not that your council of demons are subject to Jesus, but that my name is written in the Lamb's book of life.
Hey, he was pretty good, wasn't he?
The jack-o'-lantern?
No, the singer we just had.
Oh, the singer. Oh, that was Carmen. You recognize Carmen.
Yeah.
I like him. I like Lisa Ballou, too. She's going to be on next week.
And what else coming on next week? Well, I'll tell you that.
Lisa Ballou.
On the Life Matters segment, we have a guy. His name is Ron Wyatt. He's going to talk about ancient mysteries. He says he discovered Noah's Ark.
He did.
Well, that's what he says. We'll find that out next week.
Well, all right. We're going to talk to him. And also, Larry is going to be talking to a man who takes rock and makes marble.
That's right. We call him the Marble Man.
The Marble Man.
So we'll see you and all that next week.
All right.
See you later.
See ya. Bye. Oh, you're not going to eat that.
Okay, you eat it.